NBA free agency approaching ever so closely, and the draft right around the corner followed immediately by free agency, I think we should probably quickly kind of go over all of the potential options for the Chicago Bulls in the free agency pool. So what I did is I pulled the top 15 or so players that would work for the Bulls based on either being a top option in free agency, like this is one of the top guys in free agency. For example, Kyrie Irving, although he might not fit perfectly with the Chicago Bulls organization, he is a top option in free agency, as well as also looking at some of the Bulls community tabs in Twitter and just judging some of the free agents that you guys want in those community tabs. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be ranking each one of these in a tier list based on kind of who I think works for the team, who I'm hopeful to get, who I'm okay with getting, and who I just don't think would either work or is just not worth it at all. But if this is your first time on the channel, my name is John. This is the Sports Advocate. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoy this content, give me a like. If you really enjoy this content, why not subscribe? Because I have daily content, NFL, NBA, and NHL. And if you guys have any suggestions on a video idea that you would like me to do, go ahead and comment that down below. But let's not waste any more of your time. Let's get into these rankings. So first, let's kind of go over the players, these top players. I think there was 15, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, no, 13. Is that, maybe it's not loading right. Okay, either way, we have 13 or so players, and I'm probably going to have this pop up on one of the sides of my screen. For some reason, my computer won't let me record both at the same time, like screencast at the same time. I don't know what's happening with that, but I'm going to probably have this video on display in the corner over here, just muted audio so you can see everything that's going on. But let's go through the players that I have listed here first. We have Bradley Beal, we have Miles Bridges, we have DeMarcus Cousins, we have Andre Drummond, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Zach LaVine, obviously, Mo Bamba, Yusuf Nurkic, Victor Oladipo, Bobby Portis, Mitchell Robinson, and Colin Sexton. Now, like I said, these are some of the top options that people are bringing up in the community tabs, or just some of the top options in free agency overall. And we're going to be ranking these guys based off of my 5 rankings. I have my favorite options, my hopeful picks, happy choices, like I'm happy with the choice that was taken. Hopeful being like, I hope that we get this guy, like I do hope, but it's not like I need him level of like favorite option is like I really, really want this guy. Hopeful, just kind of want him. Happy, I'm still happy with the choice. Okay, I really don't have an opinion either way. My opinion will change once the season comes around. And then the last bracket here, I have waste of money. And now that doesn't literally mean that they're a waste of money. It's just either a waste of potential on the team, they're not going to reach their full potential on this team, a waste of their ability, or we just have enough talent at that position already. So out of these guys, we have 13 or so. It shows only 13. I feel like there was more. Let's start with the most obvious option. Definitely a guy that is my favorite option because not only is he restricted for the Chicago Bulls, and I know you guys all know where I'm going with this, but he has already developed extremely well with this Bulls organization, and when he is healthy, he is a top shooting guard in this league, and that is Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine is immediately going to my favorite options. I just wanted to get that out of the way because that's going to be a lot of people's first question mark, and maybe I should save that for the end for analytic purposes, but let's just get that out of the way. Zach LaVine is one of my favorite options for this team. But now let's bounce around a little bit, just so we're not doing a bunch of guards and all that stuff. Let's go with DeMarcus Cousins. Now, although he is way, way past his prime, like he was with the Sacramento Kings, but he still brings a good amount of talent to a roster. Like we saw with the Nuggets this past year and Nikola Jokic, he still had a little bit of gas left in his tank, and he was doing very, very well. So for him, and he was an option that I wanted to pick up when he was a free agent, especially for the price that he was asking for, I think he would be a depth position behind Vucevic if you were to keep Vucevic. And I think that would be a good option because of the way that they play very different forms of ball. Vucevic can spread the court, he can shoot threes, he can still get rebounds for you, but DeMarcus Cousins is that big body that stays in the post, that still gets those rebounds for you, that sets hard screens, and although he's a little bit past his prime, he still has a lot of those pluses that he used to have back in the day. My mic just took a dump. For that reason, I'm going to have DeMarcus as a happy choice. I'm gonna say happy choice. Although I would be happy to have him on the team, I think there is better options, and that's why he's right here. But I do like his option, and that's why I'm not putting him in the okay tier. Now let's go with Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal. That's a solid name. Obviously, this depends a lot on Zach LaVine. If Zach LaVine chooses that he wants to leave the team, whether it be sign and trade, which would likely bring in a guard to replace Zach, or if he just walks, Bradley Beal could be a solid option. Now, when we're looking at all these players, it's in regards to them passing restricted free agency. They decide they don't want to go to their team. Now, that might not happen with every single one of these players here, but that's just how we're going to look at it from this point of view at this moment. Bradley Beal, I really like how he plays. He plays very similar to Zach LaVine. Last year, he was better than Zach LaVine. This year, I think Zach LaVine was a little bit better than him. I think he brings a lot to the team. I think he fits well with this team. I'm going to say if Zach LaVine is off the team, then Bradley Beal is a favorite option. If Zach LaVine's on the team, he's a waste of money. So I'm going to put him in the middle, and the middle might be happy choices, but I'm going to say hopeful picks in the scenario where Zach's not on this team. I would hope that they'd go get Bradley Beal, because I don't know if there's many people that can fit in that role like Zach LaVine did other than Bradley Beal. So Bradley Beal is going to be in hopeful picks because it's all dependent on Zach LaVine. If Zach LaVine's here, waste of money. You don't need Bradley Beal. He should not be on the bench, and you would have no money to spare if you paid both of them. And it'd just literally be impossible. If Zach LaVine is gone, he is my favorite option, so I'm putting him right in the middle at hopeful picks. Next up, we have Miles Bridges, a guy that, for the most part plays like a small forward role with the Hornets, and he's been playing incredible, especially with LaMelo Ball. So why would he not work with Lonzo Ball? So let me just say this. He's a young guy. I think he has lots of potential. Was he an all-star this past year? I can't remember. If he wasn't, he was right on the verge. But you have DeMar DeRozan at the small forward position. Miles Bridges is better than a backup, and he's probably going to get paid more than better than his backup. So I will say that although he is not bad, he is just not a backup, and that's what he would play on this role. So he would be a waste of money to target him in this scenario. I think he's a very, very good player, but for the Chicago Bulls, which is exactly what we're talking about, if they were to sign him in free agency, unless you're moving DeMar somehow, he would be a waste of money. Next up, Andre Drummond. And I think he plays a very integral role to some teams and a very similar role to DeMarcus Cousins. He can get rebounds. He can play a little bit better defense than DeMarcus Cousins, but he's not going to shoot a lot of threes. Now, he was for the Brooklyn Nets last year, and that Nets team didn't have a ton of center help, and he played pretty well for them when he was on the court. And, there's not much to say for him. He's past his prime again, but he can still get you a lot of rebounds. One of the top offense and defensive rebounders in the league, outside of just a couple other younger guys here. But he doesn't bring you a lot of scoring. If you keep Vooch, maybe that's not a big worry for you. But I think he is on the verge of if you're getting Vooch or if you're going after a different guy. If you have Vooch, maybe he's a good option. But I think that there's almost better options for a cheaper price, unless he's signing for a vet minimum, which I don't know if he would. DeMarcus Cousins, I feel like he would. I don't know about Drummond. For that reason, for the unknown of his price tag, and for the fact that I think Vucevic and him, they're not similar, but I think you can kind of get the similarities between them. I think DeMarcus Cousins brings that diversity a little bit more than Andre Drummond would to this team. So I'm going to put him in the okay section. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not completely for it. I'm just okay with it at this point. Now, when it occurs and we've seen some of the other free agency picks and who we draft and all that stuff, maybe I'll be a little bit higher, maybe I'll be a little bit lower. But for this moment, I'm just okay. Next up, we have a controversial person. Actually, the next two are kind of controversial. And that's James Harden. He went to the 76ers after being traded from the Nets. He has been requesting trades nonstop as of late. It seems like the second he's not happy, he's out. He's been putting on what people like to call a fat suit. But he's still a great player. Let's not take that from him. He's still an all-star. He's still one of the best shooting guards. He, for a lot of people, is one of the best shooting guards of all time. And I would say that he's at least top 10. I don't know if I'm putting him top 5 quite yet, but he's at least top 10. He's still great. His offense did, slow down a little bit, but he did have his injuries. Whether they are completely true or not, we're not sure, but he did have his injuries. And, this is a similar situation to Zach leaves, then the question arises of James Harden. I think he has a player option here, though, so I don't know if he leaves the 76ers. For that reason, I'm going to put him in the okay section. I'm not a huge fan of James Harden, if I'm being brutally honest, and I don't think he leaves the 76ers. So he's in the okay section. Excuse me. Now, let's switch it up a little bit here. Colin Sexton. He had a lot of potential a couple years back. Once Darius Garland stepped up to the fold, Colin Sexton kind of stepped into the rear view a little bit. But he still had a great ability to go out and score, but play solid defense for you. He was a pest, almost, but not quite the level of Patrick Beverley levels of pest. And I will say, I think he plays a similar role to Lonzo Ball in this team, and as long as Lonzo's healthy, and with the amount of depth at that guard position already, I don't know if you really need a guy like Colin Sexton. For that reason, I'm going to say he's a waste of money. Now, I think he did take a step down when Darius Garland took a step up. I think they kind of switched roles a little bit. And although I'm not saying that Colin Sexton is a complete waste of money, I'm saying he's a waste of money on this team. You have Lonzo Ball, you have Alex Caruso, you have Ayo Dosunmu, and technically you still have Kobe White. Zoe and Ayo can both, as well as Caruso, can all play great levels of defense, which is probably what you're searching for if you bring in Sexton. Not only that, but Zoe and Ayo both look like they have very good potential to be a scoring threat, which we're not sure on with Sexton at this moment. So unless there's a dramatic change where Kobe leaves the fold and there's another injury with Zoe, we don't see him returning, I don't think Colin Sexton is that good of an option for the Bulls, nor do I think he fits the scheme. For that reason, Colin Sexton is a waste of money. Now, let's go to the next controversial pick, Kyrie Irving. Now, he's not quite controversial strictly off of his play style, like James Harden, but because of what occurs. He missed a huge chunk of last season and the season before due to COVID-related restrictions where he would not get his shot. Now, do what you gotta do. Do what makes you happy. Completely fine with that, okay? But you do have to think about that when you're signing a guy like this. Is he going to put himself in a similar situation where he's not playing for you half the games? But when he is playing, he's playing at an incredible level, an all-star level. He's scoring 40 points back-to-back nights after he came back. But he was not there in that center fold in the playoffs when you needed him most. Now, I think this, again, fits in the scenario where Zach LaVine. If Zach leaves, then you search for Kyrie. Why? Because Kyrie kind of played a shooting guard role a little bit when James Harden was on the team. And for that reason, I do like Kyrie's playstyle. I love his ability to break down a defender and get by them. He has incredible shooting. His defense, a little bit better than some guys, but not incredible. I think if Zach leaves and Kyrie plays all the games, this is a happy choice. But because we don't know how many games Kyrie's going to play, I feel like this is more of the okay section. If he plays a full amount of games, then he's happy. If he's not playing a full amount of games, it's a waste of money. That's how it is for me. Next up, we have Mo Bamba, a guy that's kind of rose up in a lot of the Bulls community in some options to bring in. Mo Bamba. I mean, there's an incredible song wrote by him, so why is he not an incredible option for the Bulls? Well, we don't know a whole lot about him. Now, I feel like he fits similar to a Bull situation where he hasn't reached his full potential, but we've still seen a lot out of him where we think he can take a next step. Now, he is playing for a Magic team that has a huge, huge train wreck in that low forward center position, and I think Mo Bamba, I'm sorry, is a guy that will likely not be brought back on that team. So how would he fit in on this team? I think if you keep a guy like Vucevic, I think he'd be a very good option. So I'm just going to say this. This is a happy choice for me. I'm happy if you bring in Mo Bamba. If you keep Vooch, I think I'm happy even if you go get a different guy like Rudy Gobert and you bring in Mo Bamba. I think I'm still happy with that. Not only because his age, his potential, but you're probably signing him on a very low deal that's not a big risk for a short term, most likely. So Mo Bamba is a happy choice for me. Now a guy, sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. Now a guy that I think I'm a lot higher on than some other people is Jusuf Nurkic. I'm actually very high on this guy, if I'm being honest. And I'm not quite sure why. He's nothing incredible. He doesn't pop out of the screen at you. He plays for a team that has not done incredible as of late, with Damian Lillard out and a couple other good options here. And a guy that I think some people might have targeted in this free agency pool would have been Anthony Simons. I think he goes back to the Portland Trail Blazers. I just left him out of this. I do have Jusuf Nurkic as a happy choice. I really want to put him in that hopeful category, but there's not a lot of other Bulls fans that are as high on him as I am, which makes me think maybe I'm just overseeing him a little bit. So I'm going to put him in the happy choice for now, even though I might be a little bit more happy and joyful for this pickup than some other options. Okay, now we have our last guard, Victor Oladipo, a guy that's been jumping around from team to team for some time now, but maybe still has some potential. A guy that's been paid pretty cheap and could even come off the bench for you, and I don't think he'd be upset with it. Now, I think if you can bring him in for a really cheap deal, near that minimum, I think he's a good option. And for the guard situation that you have right now, I think there's a chance that you move Kobe to either move up in the draft, go get a different guy in a different position, or you tag him along with Vooch to go get a bigger center. But, even though you might get him low, and I feel like we're still in a scenario where unless you move Kobe, or you're not so sure on Zoe, you're maybe a little bit questionable on him. Because you already have three guards that pretty much play that point guard position, strictly. Kobe White rolls over into that shooting guard a little bit more than the rest of these guys. So, and I think Victor Oladipo fits well. I think I'm going to put him in hopeful. And that might be a questionable choice. Gosh, my nose is really itchy. Might be a questionable choice here, but for the price you're likely going to be paying him, and although he does have some injury issues and you don't quite know what's exactly going to happen to him, I think his pure shooting guard ability, along with the possibility of Kobe White moving on from the team, would be a good choice. I think it would be, he's right in the middle. If there's a middle of happy and hopeful, I think Victor Oladipo and Jusuf Nurkic would go in the middle right there. But for now, I'm going to put him in the hopeful. Even if you keep Zach, I think he would be a top 6 man of the year runner, Victor Oladipo. So I'm going to put him in hopeful. Next up, a man that has been gone from the Bulls for quite some time, but I think a lot of Bulls fans do want to see him back in a Bulls uniform. A guy that likely will not be in the Bucks because of their situation, although he did sign a team-friendly deal. And maybe he tries to do that again, but it's going to be really tough. That's Bobby Portis. And I'm a big fan of Bobby Portis. I think he played incredible with the Bucks. I think he played exactly how the Bulls needs. A tough guy. A guy that can get the rebound, dunk it, offensively, can block shots, all that stuff. I think he does a really, really good job, but I just don't know how much you're going to have to pay him. And I think you can slot him down to that power forward spot and let Patrick Williams progress a little bit further. Now, do you think he'll progress further as a backup or as a starter? I would like to see Patrick Williams as a starter, but I understand the possibility of him having to be a backup in a situation such as this. So I'm going to say Bobby Portis and I'm not quite sure exactly how much you're going to have to pay him, so that's why he's going to be a little bit lower than maybe I do believe, is going to be a happy choice. I'm okay. I'm a huge fan of Patrick Williams. I think he is untouchable because of his possible potential. But it's okay to develop as a bench player. There's nothing wrong with that. I would assume we're seeing the same thing with that, and he was just an all-rookie player. So I'm okay with Patrick Williams bumping it down, especially after that injury. And then if he takes over, then you put him there, and you can trade Bobby Portis, because that's an option. So I think Bobby Portis is a happy choice. Now, our last guy. I think most Bulls fans' favorite option here, because I've seen a ton the past 2 weeks. Mitchell Robinson. Now, I think this is a scenario where you keep Vooch, you don't get Gobert, and you could run Robinson at a power forward or center position. So let me say this. I think for most people, he might be people's favorite option. He genuinely might be some people's favorite option, especially at that center position. For a good portion of people, I think he's hopeful, and there's also some people that are in the happy. Now, I'm going to say I'm more in this happy category, but I'm going to put him in the hopeful because I think if you keep Vooch, he brings a really, really good amount of, defense. Extremely good amount of defense. And that strong post. Not only that, but you could probably run him at that power forward along with Vooch. Spread out your shooters. Let DeMar have that mid-range. Let Zach and Zoe have that three-point range. And Mitch and Vooch can have that low post. And Vooch could even bump out to the three. And then on defense, you got Lonzo Ball, who is a top guy. Zach LaVine's not incredible, but being on a good defensive team is going to help him a lot. Mitchell Robinson, very, very good option. DeMar DeRozan has improved quite a bit from what a lot of people thought he was going to be. And I think Vooch, if you're giving him the worst of the two at the power forward or the center, and he's guarding the worst two, I think he'll do just fine. Not only that, but you have Alex Caruso and Ayo Dosunmu coming off the bench. Javonte Green has been playing very, very good defensively. And Patrick Williams as well. I think he's a hopeful option. Now, we went through all of our people, so let's quickly cover this. In case either you're not directly watching or you're just listening, like I know I do with a lot of people's content, or we just want a quick refresher. Favorite option, Zach LaVine. Period. I need Zach on this team. I do. He progressed so much. He's done so well with this team. I think I need him back. Hopeful pickups, Bradley Beal, if Zach doesn't come back. Victor Oladipo, I think if Zach doesn't come back, extremely good option. But also, I think he could be a really, really good six-man. Mitchell Robinson, also a hopeful pick because of his potential to not only run with Vooch, but also to add that defensive presence. Happy choices. DeMarcus Cousins, really, really good backup. Kind of plays opposite of Vooch, and that's something that could be added to the team. A little bit of toughness. I think that's something that this team maybe lacks a little bit. Mo Bamba, young, has potential, and I think he can definitely learn underneath Vooch and become at Vooch level. Yusuf Nurkic, I'm a big fan of him. Honestly, I'm a huge fan of him, but I think some other people aren't, so that's why I put him one lower. Bobby Portis, I think we've already seen him work with this team. He could definitely work with this team again. He adds that defense that you need. He's a pretty decent shooter as well, and the reason why he's in happy choices, I don't know how much you're going to be paying him. Okay choices. Andre Drummond, I think DeMarcus Cousins is a better option. James Harden, I just don't really like his way of playing. I'm not a big fan of flopping, and you're in the same position where him and Zach are not incredible at defense. Even if Zach leaves, I would rather bring in a guy that may be a little bit better on defense than a guy that's pretty much the same mold, just older, and probably getting paid more. And Kyrie Irving, although I'm a big fan of this guy, he's in the okay section because it's all going to depend on how many games he is playing. Waste of money. Miles Bridges, I like the guy a lot. I just don't think you need him on the team because you have DeMar DeRozan and you have Javonte Green. And I just think he fits a lot better with that Hornets team, so I think that the Hornets will try to bring him back. Colin Sexton, you already have enough point guard talent. You already have enough point guard defense, and I think he just plays a very similar role to a guy like Caruso or Lonzo. But that's it. That is the video. we ranked all of the top picks for the free agents for the Chicago Bulls. If you enjoyed this video, give me a like. If you really enjoyed this video and enjoy this channel, why not subscribe? Because I have daily content, NBA, NFL, and NHL. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and comment down below if maybe there's a guy you're a little bit higher on or a little bit lower on. And as always, I hope it taught you something today. Hope it made you smile. Hope it made you laugh. That something's really important. It affects someone else's day in a great way, because every single day can be a great day if we put in the effort. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.
But something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear